Epilepsy and You, How You Can Win the Battle. Today I wanted to talk a little about the emotional aspect of living with epilepsy. A lot of times when I was scoping through YouTube, I was looking at different videos, and there's a lot of videos about epilepsy and a lot of videos about seizures and what to do and what you could do for this or that, but there's not a lot of information about how to live with epilepsy, how to get through it on an emotional aspect. When you live with epilepsy, you live with a lot of different feelings inside yourself. And how do you deal with all those emotions, all those feelings that you have to cope with on a daily basis when having the disorder, epilepsy? With epilepsy, you have a lot of different things that go on. Epilepsy changes your life, and your life is no longer the same the way it used to be. Having to live with seizures, not knowing when they're going to occur, not knowing if you're going to get hurt, what's going to happen, and taking medications, the after effects of medications, the long-term effects, how it changes you. There's so many different things to consider. And how do people around us, when strangers see you have a seizure, or having limitations in your life, or people looking at you weirdly after you had a seizure, or scared, or they have that look of feeling sorry for you in their eyes. All these things that we see and go through on a daily basis cause a lot of different negative emotions inside ourselves. Now, where do all those emotions go? A lot of times that I noticed for myself personally, living with epilepsy, for years and years and years, all those emotions, all those feelings of anger and feelings of depression just built inside me, and it just got more and more as the years went on. And living like that is just not a way to live. So how do we become a different person? How do we get rid of those negative emotions? How do we get rid of that anger? How do we get rid of that depression? How do we live a normal life on a daily basis? How do we enjoy what life has to offer? Today I want to talk about creating the new you, creating a person that you are happy with, a person that you feel good about, a person that you could look in the mirror and like the person that you see. When I had epilepsy at age 5, it changed my life. I had encephalitis, and the virus had traveled to my brain and caused scar tissue damage. I was in a coma for 4 days, and before I came out of a coma, they didn't think I was going to get through it. And they said if she got through it, she probably would be paraplegic or have severe brain damage. And on day 4, I came out of the coma, but I did have scar tissue damage, and to this day they can't locate the scar tissue damage. But I've lived with epilepsy since the age of 5. And lots of things have happened throughout my entire life. And over the years, I've learned how to deal with my epilepsy. And now I'd like to teach some of those things to you. I call this creating the new you. The first thing I needed to do to create a new person, to create myself in a different way, was to start a diary. I started a journal. For me, opening up to somebody was not easy. For me, discussing how I felt about my disorder, discussing how I felt about having seizures was not easy. I was embarrassed about having epilepsy. I didn't want to talk about it with anybody. So going to a therapist or going to a support group wasn't an option at that point for me. So what I did was I started a journal, and I started to write down all the emotions, how I felt every day, everything that I was going through life, everything that happened, if I had a seizure, how it made me feel, what happened. And I wrote all of it down in this diary. And for 1 whole year, I just poured out my emotions in this diary. And it helped me. It was like it was a release off my shoulders. It was like all these unsettled emotions finally came up and they went somewhere. And then what I used to do also is I used to do meditation, where I would sit down in a quiet room where nobody was around, and I would think about every day. I would take 15 minutes and I would close my eyes, and I would think about everything I wrote in that diary the night before. And I would envision a dove, and I would make believe that dove was on my shoulder, and it was taking all the things that I wrote in the diary, and it was flying away with it. And I would breathe in and then out. And I would consistently do this. Just breathe slowly. And I would think of the dove, and I would think about everything just releasing from me. And when I did that, after doing that on a repetitive basis, I started to feel better. I started to feel like all these negative emotions were starting to go away. And then I started to also create long-term and short-term goals. I created a separate book because I wanted to create the new me. So I wrote, the first thing I did was write 10 positive things about myself. Because a lot of times we look at the negative things about ourselves. We don't tend to look at the positive and the good things about ourselves. And that's where low self-esteem comes in. But that's a whole different thing. But we want to feel good about ourselves, so we're going to focus on the positive things about ourselves. We're going to focus on 10 positive things that we like about ourselves. 10 positive things that make us feel good about us. And we're going to write those things down. And what you're going to do is every day you're going to add something to that list. And you're going to focus on short-term goals and then long-term goals. Where do I want to see myself in a week? Where would I like to see myself in 6 months? Where would I like to be in a year? What type of successful person would I like to be? You need to answer all these questions in this journal. You need to start envisioning the new you, who you want to be. Just because you have epilepsy doesn't mean you can't be the person you always wanted to be. We have to remember that nobody in life is perfect. Everybody has imperfections. We all have something in this life, whether it is depression or diabetes or high cholesterol. Everybody has something. The trick is learning how to cope with it. So the first thing what I want you to do, like we went over, is I would like you to focus on the positive things about yourself. Focus on what makes you feel good about you. Create short-term and long-term goals. And don't feel bad if you didn't, at the end of the week, you didn't accomplish everything you wanted to accomplish. If you get one thing done out of that list, then that's an accomplishment. Don't be hard on yourself. For every good thing you do, reward yourself. Change takes time. Positive change takes time. You need to have patience. And I always used to think of the saying that was taught to me, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Not everything in life can be changed. We need to accept things for the way they are, and we need to move on. So with today's lesson, I hope that you got some things out of it. And I just want to go over really quickly. Number 1, take time to write in a journal. Take time to let all that anger, all those negative emotions, all those feelings of depression from going through all the things you've gone through in life, write them down and then meditate the next day and release them from your life. Release them from your world. You have a lot of things to be happy about in life. Be happy that we have the life that we have. The air we breathe, the flowers outside, the trees, everything. Be happy for the little things in life. And then make a journal. Start focusing not where you are at now, but where you want to be in life. And start focusing on short-term and long-term goals. Focus on your successes, reward yourself, and consistently think about the positive things in your life, not the negative. Put them aside. So with today, I hope I've helped you a little bit. Please write some questions and some in the comment box. I'll be happy to answer them. And if you have anything that you'd like me to talk about epilepsy, just shoot them out in the comment box. And I hope I helped you. And if you like this video, please subscribe for future videos. Thank you.